The letter smelled of expensive paper and a venomous little smirk. It landed on my old, scarred oak kitchen table with a soft, final thud, demanding I sell my family's 20 acres, the last piece of genuine Texas dirt bordering the preserve, for what amounted to less than half its market value. Sell the ranch? Are you kidding me? That was the aggressive three-sentence hook the Homeowners Association, spearheaded by their new president, Rhonda the Regulator Sterling, used to kick off the biggest fight of my life. I swear, Rhonda must have thought the dust that clung to my boots was contagious. She moved into the million-dollar tract home across the road just 18 months ago, and ever since, my ranch, my lifeblood, suddenly became a scenic impediment. When I finally met her in the community center, a place I hadn't stepped foot in since they built it on what used to be Old Man Johnson's pasture. The air was thick with her designer perfume, a sharp, cloying scent that tasted like victory and entitlement. She wore a tailored suit and a look of absolute conviction. "Mr. Tate, your current operation is fundamentally incompatible with the aesthetic and property standards of the preserve," she stated, her voice clipped, brittle as dry kindling. "Operation?" I leaned back in the cheap plastic chair, the vinyl squeaking a protest. "It's my home, Rhonda. It's a working ranch. It's been here 70 years. What exactly is the impediment?" "The fact that real dirt and actual livestock exist outside your Traverton entryway." I wanted to shout, but I kept my voice low, a low rumble that I knew got under her skin. She didn't flinch. She just tapped a perfectly manicured nail on a thick binder. "The smell, the visual nuisance of your rusted cattle fencing and that perpetually unkempt barn." She paused, letting a heavy, exasperated sigh escape her lips, a sound crafted purely for dramatic effect. "We are offering you a substantial sum, Jake. Enough to start fresh somewhere else. Somewhere less visible." Substantial? It was an insult, a lowball attempt to wipe out generations of sweat and soil just so she could have a pristine, green velvet buffer zone for her wealthy neighbors. My jaw tightened, and I could feel the heat rising up my neck. What right did this woman have to dictate my life? Seriously, who does she think she is? The negotiations broke down faster than an old pickup on a muddy road. Rhonda pulled the trigger, a formal lawsuit, claiming that an obscure, ancient declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions, CC&R, gave the Homeowners Association the right to force the sale of any contiguous property deemed a detriment to community cohesion. That was the moment the game changed from local squabble to full-blown war. I hired a sharp-as-a-tack young lawyer named Sam, who had an annoying habit of wearing bow ties but a true hunter's instinct for real estate law. Sam spent weeks drowning in decades of obscure title documents, old county records, and Homeowners Association bylaws. My ranch felt heavy with the tension. Even the summer cicadas sounded less cheerful, their buzz of frantic, nervous energy. I'd walk the property line, touching the sun-baked, familiar wood of the fence posts, my heart aching with the fear of losing it all. Was this really happening? Was I going to lose the ranch to a woman named Karen? The day of the hearing arrived, and the silence in the courtroom hung thicker than Texas humidity in July. Rhonda sat at the petitioner's table, radiating confidence, her lawyer ready to present a neatly packaged narrative of my rustic eyesore ruining her client's investment paradise. It felt like the entire system was rigged, designed to favor the wealthy and connected. Rhonda shot me a triumphant, pitying look across the aisle, the look of a victor waiting for the gong. Then Sam stood up. He didn't waste time attacking the visual nuisance clause. He went straight for the structural jugular. He pointed to Section 14.3 of the very CC&R Rhonda had used against me, a section she probably never bothered to read past the index. He showed the court that the preserve, while owning most of its common areas, did not own the small half-acre triangular plot where their iconic, heavily landscaped main entrance sign and gazebo stood, the one with the fancy waterfall feature. They held it on a long-term, non-transferable ground lease from the original holding company. Sam's voice cut through the air, precise and deadly. Your Honor, the petitioner is attempting to compel the forced sale of my client's free and clear deeded property, based on a broad and subjective detriment to cohesion clause. This action is malicious, frivolous, and, given the minimal appraisal they offered, frankly predatory. He then delivered the knockout blow, the twist I hadn't dared to dream of. As punitive recompense for the financial and emotional damage caused by this lawsuit, and under the specific, often overlooked provisions of the state's Adverse and Arbitrary Litigation Act applied to homeowners association contracts, we are petitioning the court to authorize the seizure of a proportional, equivalent value asset from the petitioner. Rhonda scoffed, starting to whisper something dismissive about a lien to her lawyer. She had no idea what was coming. Sam continued, his voice rising. We ask not for money, Your Honor. We ask that the court authorize Mr. Tate to seize the petitioner's proprietary interest in that half-acre land lease. The court went silent, a collective, stunned intake of breath. The lawyer for the Homeowners Association actually dropped his pen. The clatter echoed like a gunshot. Rhonda's face drained of color, her triumphant smirk replaced by a look of sheer, horrified panic. That half-acre was their gateway, their aesthetic centerpiece, their multi-million-dollar selling point. Without that lease, the HOA's entire preserve, branding dissolved into a random collection of expensive houses with an uncertain front yard. They had overreached, and now, the cost wasn't just my ranch. It was their whole identity. The judge stared at the documents, then at Rhonda's trembling figure, and then at me. After what felt like an eternity, he slammed the gavel down, thwack, and the sound was the sweetest music I'd ever heard. The court finds the petitioner's claim without merit and unduly aggressive. Furthermore, due to the malicious nature of the attempted forced sale, Mr. Tate's motion for an asset seizure, based on the specific lease provisions outlined, is granted. The Homeowners Association's lease on Parcel 3B is hereby transferred. Rhonda stood up, letting out a small, strangled cry, a sound of pure, unadulterated shock and comeuppance. Her lawyer was trying to restrain her, but she kept repeating, "No, that's our entrance, our gazebo." She had tried to steal my heritage for pocket change, and in return, the court had let me take the ground right out from under her feet. Justice wasn't just served. It was plated with irony and a heavy dose of legal vengeance. Never underestimate the quiet guy who just wants to be left alone. Sometimes, the dirt he stands on hides the sharpest traps. Now, as the owner of their front yard, I was thinking maybe a big, beautiful, slightly rusty cattle fence would look just perfect next to that gazebo.